Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Bryndís, and today I want to talk about some books on my physical TBR that I'm very excited to read. Hopefully this year, but at least, in the next couple of years. So my goal now for my physical TBR is to get it down as close to zero as possible, even to zero. Because I do so many audiobooks, I don't really need to be having a lot of unread books on my shelves. I would prefer to keep my book collection curated so that when I read a book through audio, I will sorry, I got this kind of message there. I will then decide if I want to buy the physical copy. If it's a 5-star read, a book I really enjoyed, a book that I would like to read again, then I will buy it and have it on my TBR. Because I went insane in 2024 and I got so badly influenced by BookTube and all the hauls people are doing that on the 1st of January, I had 143 unread physical books on my bookshelves. In the beginning of last year, I had like 5. I'm not even going to tell you how many books I bought in the year of 2024. I mean, a lot of them were very cheap in the thrift store, in the charity shop. So it's not really necessarily about the money. It's more about just, I don't need to buy every book I see. So my goal for 2025 in regards to reading is to not to have a goal, basically. But within that no goal, I really want to just read my physical TBR. And I have a lot of those as audiobooks as well as physical copies. So I'm kind of starting the year by concentrating on those so I can listen to them, because that's just my preferred way of reading books is through audiobooks. And so that's what I'm gonna basically be doing. I'm going to be reading my physical TBR through audiobooks and then the occasional physical book when I feel like it. And so you may have seen that video where I was talking about my goals and also my January pile of possibilities. I picked books from my TBR, physical TBR. And I was feeling a little bit like, why can I only pick books from a physical TBR type of a feeling? So I needed to kind of reset myself. And so I went through my physical TBR. How many times can I say that word? But anyway, I went through my physical TBR. I picked 25 books that I am very excited about reading. And I think that I'm excited about reading maybe at least 80% of the books that I own. And so that's very good, right? But I'm going to talk about the 25 that I picked for this video. And I think they are all really good books that I'm, as I said, very excited about. And I want to share them with you and talk about them a little bit. So 25 books, mostly fiction. I think I have 2 nonfiction there. But okay, let's just start. I'm going to try not to talk too much about each book because then this video is going to be too long. But the first book that I'm actually very excited about reading is Bear Town by Fredrik Backman. This is the Icelandic translation. This book I do not have access to the audiobook. So, and I'm just having an issue with reading physically. I don't know what's wrong. I think that it's just, anyway, doesn't matter why, but for some reason I'm finding it difficult to read physical books. But so I don't know when I will actually get to it. But I'm very excited about reading this series. I think this is the first book in a trilogy, I think. And I wanted to read it in, I think, October, but I just didn't get to it then. But yeah, so Bear Town by Fredrik Backman is, I think it's a little bit heavy. I read A Man Called Uwe in 2024, and that one was extremely emotionally draining for me. I'm hoping that this one is not as horribly triggering. I don't think so. They're definitely a different topic here. But yeah, I'm really excited about reading Bear Town by Fredrik Backman. The next book on my list is The House of Fortune by Jessie Burton. This is the sequel to The Miniaturist, and I bought this book. So I read The Miniaturist in 2023. It was one of my top 5 books of that year. And I bought this book like early 2024 with the intention of reading it immediately, but I just haven't gotten to it. And I'm very excited. I really enjoyed The Miniaturist, like I said. The setting of like late 17th, early 18th century. I think this is 1705. And in Amsterdam, and it's just such an interesting setting to me. And I love historical fiction, so I'm very excited about this book. And another kind of historical fiction that I'm very excited about is The Nightingale by Christine Hanna. So this is a World War II book. And I mean, it's a very famous book, and I've seen a lot of people reading it and talking about it. It's not new. I think it's since like 2015. But I'm very excited to read this. This is also quite big, but I do have this as an audiobook, and I think this is also quite emotionally heavy, so we'll see, but I'm very excited about this one as well. I have a couple of other, two more like historical fiction that I'm also very excited about reading, and this is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, and this is also World War II historical fiction. It's been made into like, I think, a Netflix series or a miniseries or a movie, I can't remember which. And I'm very, like, it just feels like exactly the type of World War II type of a book I will enjoy. I just know that I'm going to enjoy all of these books that I've talked about before. Again, it's probably going to be heavy. It's World War II. But yeah, I'm very excited about that. And then the last historical fiction that I'm also very excited about reading is The Trouble with Mrs. Montgomery Hearst by Katie Lumsden, who has the channel Books and Things here on BookTube or YouTube. And I bought this copy in Brighton in September when I was there, and it's beautiful, and it's signed by Katie, and she's like, Books and Things is probably in my top 2 or 3 BookTube channels here on YouTube. So I'm very excited about reading this. This takes place in Victorian England, and yeah, I'm very excited. I don't have this as an audiobook, so that's gonna be tricky, but I'm hoping that I will get over this reluctance that I have of reading physically. I don't know what happened, but I'm very excited about this as well. The next book I want to talk about is Sally Rooney's Conversation with Friends. I think this is going to be... I actually bought this book when I was in Maynooth, just outside of Dublin in Ireland in April. And it takes place in Dublin. I used to live in Dublin for a few months back in 2011. And I think that it's gonna be fun to read about some friends living together and, you know, stuff like that. So I'm very excited. I haven't read anything. I think I'm saying that's right, that I'm not mistaken, but I haven't read anything by Sally Rooney, but I keep hearing her everywhere. Like her new novel, Intermezzo, something like that. Sounds very intriguing to me. This might also be somewhat emotionally heavy. I don't know. And I don't have this as an audiobook, so we'll see when I get to it, but it is very exciting to me. And then I have another kind of iconic book on my shelves, which is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. And I think that this is kind of the iconic dark academia book. And, it takes place, a charismatic classics professor at an elite New England college. Sounds very intriguing to me. And I don't know why I haven't read this book. I don't actually think I have it as an audiobook. I'm not sure. But we'll have to double check that. But this is a book that I should read for sure. And that I'm excited about reading. And I just need to get to it. And then the last book that is kind of not a part of I have the rest of the books are more like series or fantasy, non-fiction, and then classics. And that is a book that I think is just absolutely hilarious. And I found it at the charity shop. But I've seen clips from this. I think it's either a TV show or maybe just a web series or something. It's Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I saw it on YouTube. I don't know. God, it's so funny, ridiculous, and silly. But it's basically, Elizabeth Bennet is determined to wipe out the zombie menace. It's just hilarious to me. So I'm gonna love this. I love Pride and Prejudice and just Jane Austen in general. So, oh my God. Elizabeth Bennet and Darcy fighting zombies. I mean, then we have The Stand by Stephen King. It's so big. I'm so excited to read this book. This is kind of one of his most famous, classic, iconic books. But it's just so big. But even if it's big, I'm still excited to read it. But I'm a little bit terrified as well. I don't have this as an audiobook, so I would have to read this huge book. It feels like it's over 1,200 pages. But I am still very excited about it, and I think that it's gonna be such an interesting book. I know that I heard people that absolutely hate it, a few people that I follow here on BookTube, because it is, some of the use of the language and, but then there are also people who absolutely love it. So I like Stephen King. I'm not sure if I necessarily love him, but I've read several of his books, and I definitely like him very much. So this is going to be interesting. And this is kind of the ultimate pandemic type of a book. Virus, infection, everywhere, and So, yeah, The Stand. On my list of these 25 books, I have 2 nonfiction, like I said. First of them is the biography of Agatha Christie by Lucy Worsley. I loved Lucy Worsley's biography of Jane Austen. I've seen some of her TV shows, or is it on YouTube? Somewhere I've seen her. She's a historian and really good one. And I'm very intrigued with the life of Agatha Christie and all of those things. So I'm very excited to read this book. And then another nonfiction that I have is actually The Dublin Railway Murder, the sensational true story of a Victorian murder mystery. And I bought this one as well in Dublin, or in Maynooth. And so it's basically, there was a murder in Dublin in 1856. And there's, it's like a true crime, basically. They don't know who did it, basically. And so I think that's going to be really interesting. And I love murder mysteries and stuff like that. So this is very exciting. I just need to remember that I have it so that I can actually read it. I have now, let me get them here, a pile of fantasy books. I think they are all the first book, or at least in a series. I'm very excited to start all of them. I'm not going to allow myself, though, to start them until I finish the Mistborn series and I finish the Red Rising series. Or at least I get up to the last book. Like the last book of the Red Rising series has not been published, so I need to at least catch up to that and then finish the Mistborn series. I think I have like 2 or 3 books. Three more books to read in that one before I can start a new series, like fantasy series. But the ones that I'm very excited about and that I actually own the physical copy of at least one book in the series, there are 4 of them here. And so I don't know if I will get to them this year. It just depends on how it goes with reading the other books, the other series, finishing the other series. I don't want to have a lot of series going at the same time. I just feel that I like to kind of just immerse myself within a world. So having 2 series going at the same time is more than enough for me. But okay. So the first one is John Gwynn's The Faithful and the Fallen series. So there are 4 books in it. There is this one, Malice, then there is Valor, Ruin, and Wrath. So I have the first one. And excellent copy I got at the thrift store. And I'm very excited. Like, I don't really know too much, but there are like armies of men and giants and prophecy. So I don't really know, like I said, a lot about this world or what is going on. But what I do know sounds super interesting to me. So I'm actually very excited about getting to this series. So I have the first book, and hopefully I will really enjoy it. Then I can hopefully get the rest of the books. Another book series that I'm really excited to read is the Atlas series. So this is the Atlas 6. So there's the Atlas 6, there is the Atlas Paradox, and then I think the third one is also published already. And I have all of them as audiobooks. So I'm very excited about this. So this is magicians. There are 6 extraordinary magicians, 5 chances to win 1 secret society. So once a decade, best magicians are invited to join the elite Alexandrian society. They, this is it sounds fascinating and very exciting to me. The next one is this one, The Priory of the Orange Tree. It's beautiful, but it's huge. But I think I would really, what I've been hearing about it, the people who like it seem to like same books that or at least within the fantasy genre, seem to like the same books that I do, and there is a second book out. I don't know if this is gonna be like 2 books, 3 books, or like a longer series. I don't know if that's even been decided. But yeah, I'm just very excited to read this book. And but like it's so big. Why do they have to make these books so big? Yeah, there's a dragon there, so I'm assuming that it's gonna be a good book. And then the last series that I'm actually really interested to read, I don't own the first book, but it is the A Discovery of Witches trilogy, and no, the All Souls trilogy. And I think the first book is called Discovery of Witches, and I think this is the second one, Shadow of Night by Deborah Harkness. And I think these are like 5 or 6 books or something that I've, at least so far. And there's a witch. I think, is there a vampire or something? I don't know. Witches, demons, and vampires. Diana and Matthew's Forbidden Love. Yep. It sounds very interesting to me with witches and vampires. Like, I'm a Buffy fan, Vampire Diaries fan, so I like witches and vampires as a combination. And I think there were werewolves, demons. Like, what's there not to like? So I don't have the first book. I don't have these as an audiobook. So when I feel like I really can't wait, I will probably try to get my hands on the first book to read it or figure out the audio. But a lot of people have been reading this series. I mean, this is not a new series. 2012. So, it would have been maybe 2010 or something like that for the first book. So yeah, I'm very, very excited about this series as well. And now we have the classics. I chose 10 from my classic shelf. I probably could have chosen 10 more, but I wanted to have a balance of not only classics that I'm excited about. So I have 10 here, and the first one is actually on my January pile of possibilities, and that is Wilkie Collins' The Moonstone. I absolutely loved The Woman in White. So I'm expecting that I'm gonna love this. And this is kind of a mystery, a moonstone, like it's a jewel thing that is stolen. And I think there's like the prototype of the, modern detective crime story, something like that. It's what I've heard. And so I'm very excited, and I'm going to be reading it in January for sure. I can't wait. I cannot wait. I have 2 other Victorian books that I'm very excited about reading. Elizabeth Gaskell's North and South. I really enjoy Elizabeth Gaskell. I read Wives and Daughters last October. I've read Cranford and several of her short stories, and I just love her writing. So this is something that I'm very excited about. I also have Mary Barton by her on my physical TBR that I'm also very excited to read. She's one of my, I think she's definitely one of my favorite Victorian authors or favorite English authors, classic authors. Really, she's in the top there. I really, really, really enjoy her. So I'm excited to read North and South by her. And then the other Victorian that I decided to put in here is actually Thomas Hardy, and I have Far from the Madding Crowd. This sounds very intriguing to me. So there's the Sergeant Troy, and I don't really know what it's about. I know there's a movie, and I have also Tess of D'Urbervilles of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. I decided to talk about this one in this video, but I'm also excited to read that one. I'm just really excited to read Thomas Hardy. I haven't read anything by him, and I know that he's a little bit miserable. That is, his books are quite miserable, so we'll see. But I think that is gonna be an interesting read, I hope, and I'm excited about that. I'm also very excited to read more of Virginia Woolf. So I have here Mrs. Dalloway by her. I read To the Lighthouse last year and loved it so much. Her writing was it just went into my soul and just gave me so much joy. It was beautiful. So I'm very excited to continue to read some of her work. And Mrs. Dalloway is a book that I have and I found at the charity shop. So very excited about that. And then another book that I found in Maynooth when I was there in the bookstore is actually the Penguin Book of Murder Mysteries. And this is just short stories, basically, or shorter stories by the unfamiliar, the unjustly forgotten, and the little-known gems by writers from outside the genre. So these are authors that didn't typically write murder mysteries. So I have no idea, maybe this is like really bad. We'll see, but it's intriguing to me for sure, and definitely something that I want to read. We have another chunker here, The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Yeah, it's big, very big. But this is obviously a classic, and it's like I hear everybody who reads this book that I've seen on BookTube are loving it. And it's an iconic book. It's a revenge story, so I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of revenge stories. and it's like almost 900 pages, but I have it as an audio. So at that, at least that's that. That's a good thing for me. So yeah, The Count of Monte Cristo is a book that I'm very excited to read. And then I also have several Russian books that I want to read. I want to read Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment. I saw the movie several decades ago and I absolutely loved it. The one with Patrick Dempsey and Ben, what's his name? Ben something. And it's one of the best movies I've seen, probably. So I really want to read Crime and Punishment. And yeah, but I also am very excited about reading The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky as well. Again, a chunker, 700 something pages. But everybody that I see that is into classics that reads this is just blown away. So those are the two Dostoevskys I would love to read in 2025. If I get to it, we'll see, 2025 or 2026. Like I said, I'm not gonna go crazy with it, but because I also want to read Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. It's also quite big. I read War and Peace this last year and loved it. Well, I mean, there were sections of the book that I absolutely loved, and then there were sections that I was just like, I really don't. It's just too much war and not enough peace, basically. It's a really good book, though, and I recommend it. I think it's a book that, if you like classics, it's one of the books that you kind of should read. And Anna Karenina, I think, is also one of those. And I have this audiobook narrated by Davina Porter, I think, who also narrates the Outlander series. And I love her narration style. So that's going to be just pure joy if I get to this book this year. But I'm very excited and can't wait to read it. And then the last book of the 25 on my physical TBR on my shelves that I'm very excited to read, but I'm not going to read in 2025. I just know that. But I keep looking at it and I'm like, oh, I want to read this book. But I'm also terrified of reading this book. And that is Ulysses by James Joyce. I want so much to read this book, but I don't want to just read it just to read it. I want to read it where I can understand it and enjoy it. So I definitely know that I want to read other books by him before I read this book. I have read Dubliners, which is a short story collection and perfection. So I would like to read like Finnegan's Wake, Portrait of an Artist, is it? Something like that. And Artist as a Young Man. He has like at least two other novels, maybe three. I would like to read those first. And I also know that, because I've been watching some booktubers who have read this book this year or in the last few years. And often they have these kind of companion books to it that kind of explains it, because it's not an easy book to read. So I don't want to read it, like I said, just to read it. I want to actually have a good experience reading it. But it's just, I don't know why. I'm always drawn to difficult things. I don't know why. I just seem to like to make things difficult for myself. So, yeah, this is the last book of the 25 that I'm very excited to get to eventually. Those were the 25 books on my physical TBR, like I said, that I'm very excited to read. And also, like I said, I mean, probably about 80% of these books, of these 143 books on my shelves that I haven't read, I'm very excited about. And I'm happy that I have them and I want to read them. That's why I bought them. But there are definitely books in there that I'm like, why did you buy this book? What were you thinking? So I am expecting, I think, like I said in my in previous videos also, that I am going to be brutal with DNFing. If I'm reading a book from a physical TBR that I just don't enjoy, I'm just not going to force myself to read it. I would just stop reading it DNF it, and just declutter it or unhaul it. But these books, I expect all of these to be 5-star reads, or at least the majority of them. And so I'm very excited to read them. And I hope that they will, I use my TBR jar to pick books. So hopefully some of them I will pick. But if they will not be in my TBR jar, if I will not pick them from my TBR jar, I can also just pick them as a mood reading throughout the year. Because that's something that I want to kind of prioritize really this year. Just to read what I want when I want it and not get too caught up in I have to read this, I have to read that. But yeah, I think this is gonna be a really good reading year, and I look forward to reading all of these books. If you've read any of them, please let me know in the comments what you thought and what you would recommend me prioritizing over others. And that's that. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.